chance.
Hello and welcome back to Typical City. Manchester City have closed the gap to Liverpool to 2 points. Game in hand. It's in our hands. We're getting this 4P. It all feels hunky-dory being a Manchester City fan once again. Second half of the season syndrome is kicking in where the fear factor of our rival fans all look at us and go, well, this isn't the time when City kick into gear, isn't it? Well, yes, it is. Absolutely it is. But it didn't feel like that approaching the half-time whistle because once again Manchester City go 1-0 down. For the fourth away game in a row, we go 1-0 down and still win the game. Now, you can flip that script and say that's the hallmark of champions. There's no way the media are going to write that. You aren't going to hear those headlines again, that Manchester City, that's the hallmark of champions, going 1-0 down and still finding a way, because that's boring hearing that again. But it's true. It's so true that that's what champions do. You just poke the bear. You anger them, and they turn it around and they up their ante, and they didn't deserve to go 1-0 down today. I felt like it was a sucker punch out of nowhere, and thankfully a Phil Foden hat-trick to make it 3-1. One of the strange... Was it... I'm trying to think. Was it a perfect hat-trick? Because he scored with his head, didn't he, for the second one? I think it was 2 left-foot shots. It was nearly a perfect hat-trick. If he could just poke that on with his right foot for the first one, that could have been a perfect hat-trick. Very nearly so. But it wasn't a glamorous performance from City. I think it needed to be a little bit... It was really assured, and the fact that we were very... From the tactics, you could see straight away that Pep Guardiola wanted to grab the game by the scruff of the neck and throw everything at Brentford, because we knew that this wasn't quite the game for... I think patience is always required in a Pep Guardiola side, but against a side like Brentford that are going to defend so deep with such big physical guys that want type Erling Haaland to go and sit on them so they can just grab hold of him and get him in their spider's web and hold on to the man and not let him play the football, that you either have to drop deep or try and take sort of the occasional long shot. And we didn't just take the occasional long shot. In that first half, we were peppering Flecken to the point where he had 9 saves to his name, some of which were world class. So outstretched left hand that Mark Flecken, the Dutch goalkeeper, tipping around the post, some fantastic goalkeeping. And then he goes and gets himself in a fucking assist. So man of the match from a Brentford point of view is absolutely Mark Flecken, because he fully deserved it, because he was keeping them in the game in the first half. But City were resorting to long-range efforts, and that's due to the fact that Brentford was set so deep and it was difficult to penetrate anything and getting any sort of, in-the-box creativity, a few tricky passes that they were just not there in the first half. Second half, on the other hand, they were there, and that was so evident with our third goal, where Haaland, really good, typical number 9 play. The ball's fired into Erling Haaland. He holds onto the ball really well, gets his hand on Pinnock, keeps him away. Phil Foden's run, shadowing into that little pocket of space. Poor defending, in truth, because that was a big pocket that Phil found. But Haaland's not going to, the guy might not be known for his assists, but he's got quite a few to his name now. In fairness to Erling Haaland, he didn't have his greatest day in front of the office. He only had one genuine opportunity, and it was clear cut. And again, that was an amazing save by Flecken to stick out an outstretched right foot. That's the only moment that I think Erling Haaland would come away from disappointed today, because I felt like he had to have a quiet game, a sacrificial game, where he's not going to get an abundance of chances. He's going to be crowded out by the Brentford defenders. That was always going to be the case, and I don't think it's a coincidence that now Brentford have gone 3 games without receiving an Erling Haaland goal. And they are the only Premier League team that have not conceded a goal to Erling Haaland. And I think is so true to the way they defend, that they want to kill players like Erling Haaland and kill the space that he wants. So Alvarez was played today. And I felt like, albeit he didn't have his greatest game, he was a constant threat, dropping into that pocket. You either go with Alvarez or you go with Phil Foden, and eventually we wore them down in that second half to create the chances that we created, like for Phil Foden's third, for example. I want to apologise to someone who said I don't think Kevin De Bruyne's assist, because that first one is what I was talking about, that cross that came into, I can't remember who it was who was saying that there was a De Bruyne's assist. But Phil Foden's second goal, that was absolutely a Kevin De Bruyne's assist, and I apologise for saying he didn't get an assist, because I was focusing on that first goal where the cross comes in from Kevin De Bruyne, who didn't have his greatest day. His deliveries into the box weren't that good, except for the second goal, which I'll get onto shortly. But that first cross was a poor one. Pinnock, in that situation, he needs a shout from his men around him. Surely Flecken or Ben Mee or whoever's shouting to Pinnock, leave it, mate, because De Bruyne's cross is going out for a goal kick. But instead, he nods it back into the danger zone, right up into the air, where it drops onto the penalty spot. Phil Foden chests it, brings it down. Fantastic finish. There's no saving that, Flecken, regardless of all the amazing saves that he'd put into that first half performance. You can't save that. He's too close. And those close chances were few and far between throughout the game because of the spaces that just weren't afforded to Manchester City in the penalty box from Brentford. But sloppy defending from Brentford for their second goal, where Kevin De Bruyne gets it right. And he only needs to get it right once, and he's going to keep peppering you. De Bruyne's deliveries into the box weren't the greatest today, but like I said, it only needs one to be spot on. And it was absolutely bang on the money for that second goal. And it's not very often you see a Phil Foden header going into the back of the net. And take no mistake, take nothing away from the fact that the ball was fantastic. But that header, I mean, that was killer instinct today from Phil Foden. Killer instinct in front of goal. Because he's not had a bag full of chances and he's been wasting them. He's had, I think, maybe 4 chances, 1 long-range effort from Phil Foden. But he's taken everything that's been given him on a plate, and he's taken it. That header right into that far corner, really good header from Phil Foden. The third goal was brilliant. That was by far the goal of the night from a City perspective. Fed into Haaland, brings it down, and he just lays in Phil Foden. Sloppy defending, big pocket of space, but he just nonchalantly just pokes it into that far corner. Great news for Manchester City, because we've closed that gap now, and it was vital, because I think most rival fans will have looked at this and said, yeah, City are probably going to win, but you just never know. I know some people don't believe in history, and I'm obviously focused in the preview I was talking about City. They did the double over us, Brentford, last season. So we have to take it seriously. And there is I was saying in the watch long, there's football finds a way to repeat itself historically. You know, we only need to look at the Spurs record that we had for 5 games without a goal, and not even forget winning. We couldn't even score at their stadium, and that was a record that continued to repeat itself time and time again until we killed that. We've killed the Brentford double in terms of struggling to play against Brentford. We've never really beaten them comfortably. Erling Haaland is the only thing, the record now that's associated with Brentford in terms of he's never scored against them. So we've got to face them again on the 20th of February, Tuesday night game at the Etihad. I feel like it'll be a similar game. I really feel like it'll be a similar game. But once again, we're talking about Manchester City conceding a goal from an error. And as much as it fills me with confidence knowing that this team can go 1-0 down, and we're not going 1-0 down, by the way, against anybody. You know, and I know it's like on paper, and if you look at the league table, it's not great, but they're away from home. Just think about the places that we've gone away from home. And then the G-Tech Community Stadium isn't the most atmospheric, but the team that they play, the style of football that Brentford play. And if they get a 1-0 lead, the atmosphere goes up a notch. And then it becomes a really difficult environment. They're such a physical team. Going away to Brentford is a difficult task for anybody. And to go 1-0 down, that's going to increase your difficulty and make it so much harder. And we've got to stop making life hard for ourselves. You remove the G-Tech Community Stadium out of it. You bring in St James's Park. Who wants to play at St James's Park anymore? Let alone going 2-1 down, rather. You know, don't want any of that. We've had Luton as well, where we've gone 1-0 down to Luton. Everton went 1-0 down. We've got to cut this out. We have to cut this out. It's really, really going to get caught out eventually, where we do go to a ground and we don't have that. Well, it's not luck. We generate our own luck as Manchester City. We tend to do that. But we don't want to keep going 1-0 down to a point where it becomes too costly and we either just 1-1 or we don't even get a goal back and we lose the game 1-0. We can't keep doing that. We can't. We've got to get that 1-goal lead as soon as we can. And we saw the effect that it does when we go 1-0 up against Burnley. And that had the hallmarks of a game that they were defending reasonably well until they didn't, Burnley. And then one goes in, and we make it 2, and we make it 3, and we make the game look comfortable. But the lack of clean sheets, as Section was saying in the chat, which was made me funny. City right now have got less clean sheets than a Premier in. Just let that sink in, Section. Cheers, mate, for that. But no, honestly, I think it's been a really good night for City. I think there's a few blotches on the performance. That long ball from Flecken infuriated me. It's real schoolboy defending, you know. You see that type of long ball, you celebrate it as the attacking team, the team that's got the ability of or a goalkeeper like we do with Ederson. Like I said, we saw it with Ederson's long ball to Aguero against Huddersfield, Ederson's long ball over the top to Haaland against Nottingham Forest that resulted in 2 Manchester City goals. Ederson's capable of getting an assist. But when you're on the receiving end of one, it looks so amateurish, doesn't it? It looks so schoolboy. Like, come on, man. You've got all the time in the world to get underneath that ball, pick the trajectory, at least have the awareness to look behind you. Both Nathan Ake, who had a fantastic game, other than this one error. Gvardiol's got to get behind him. Gvardiol, who had a fantastic second half. First half, still a bit of like unconvincing performance in the first half, but second half, Gvardiol was really, really good. I was impressed in the second half, which is great news going forward. But between the two of them, it just needs a bit of communication. You've got Ivan Toney and Mopé, who are both standing in offside positions. That's old school tactics, and as you know, you can't be offside from a goal kick. Play into the game and maximising the rules to the best of their ability. Brentford, as City have done numerous times. So from their point of view, like I said, it's a great goal. From our point of view, it's so avoidable. So avoidable. We've got to cut that out. And we're making life infinitely harder for ourselves in these games, and we will not continue to get away with it. I promise you, we will go 1-0 down and we'll drop points as a result of it. We can't always turn games round. We've got to go to these places and get 1-0 leads. And today, I think I felt like it, even at 1-0. When Brentford scored, I felt like, yeah, we are definitely going to turn this round. I didn't really lose confidence going 1-0 down. It's just the nature of the goal that bothered me more than anything. But the amount we were dominating that first half and getting the shots away, albeit they were long shots, I felt like we were in control. And we didn't really go for a controlling performance because we threw on Alvarez and Haaland. And those two, neither of them like scream the word control. If you want to see a player that can control the ball, you play Kovacic, you play either maybe a Nunes, you play obviously De Bruyne, Phil Foden, Bernardo Silva, Jack Grealish. These players control the ball. You play Alvarez and Haaland. They're so aggressive with their style of play that I don't feel like City are going to control the game quite as well. But I think Pep knew that level of control wasn't really needed today. It wasn't needed. We needed to break the door down today, and we need to kick that door in, the big red and white with a little sprinkle of black on the collar door. We needed to break that door down, and we did it effectively. Eventually, time told through just the sheer number of balls that we were getting to the edge of the box, sometimes into the box. And eventually the cracks started appearing in Brentford's armour, and we exposed them eventually for the overly defensive attitude that they approached to this game today, and hopeful football in terms of long direct balls to Ivan Toney, who I think we did a fantastic job of, other than the goal of keeping quiet today. There was a moment in the second half where Gvardiol dealt with him beautifully. Fantastic defending. Numerous little opportunities for Ivan Toney that were little moments I thought, oh, here we go, scared. But Neil Mopé was the biggest pest today, I felt. Like his appearance is like, he was winding City players up, left, right and centre, got himself booked. Kyle Walker was telling the referee to have a word with him, and I was getting a bit tasty out there with Neil Mopé. Ivan Toney didn't quite impose the presence that he normally would have done. In previous games, Ivan Toney's been terrifying since his return. Thankfully today it wasn't him, and I was jokingly saying that Neil Mopé's probably going to score today. Now I've bigged up Ivan Toney so much, and guess fucking what? Neil Mopé scores, of course he does, and I mean it was a good finish, in fairness to him. But City making it life hard for ourselves by going 1-0 down like that. But I still felt like we are miles above Brentford in terms of the football that we're trying to play. And I think Pep got it right today in the approach. I did feel like it was a little bit aggressive. Someone said in the chat earlier, too many chefs, which is a good analogy for the style of play that it was rare. You don't really see Pep do that. Pep's all about as many midfielders as possible. He said it many times. If I could have 10 midfielders, he would. But logistically, that makes no sense. Like, obviously you can't have 10 midfielders on the pitch, but he wants that focus in midfield to be so controlled, and usually that box of 2 attacking midfielders and 2 defensive midfielders, with one of them either inverting as a fullback, centre back, or as a number 8 that pushes up. One way or the other is always that little box in midfield, and he abandoned that tonight. I don't think he'd even go for that, and he went for straight up. Let's go man for man and throw everything at them with our best attacking goals. All the players with the highest number of goals this season were on the pitch. And that was Pep's intention today, because it was needed. We needed it. Thankfully, Phil Foden stepped up to the plate. Haaland should have got himself one. Alvarez struggled to get any sort of opportunities whatsoever, but I think his touch wasn't great today, Alvarez. There was moments that he let himself down a little bit with his link-up play, but he was a constant pest. His presence was good. He was always something to keep an eye on for Brentford, albeit when the ball landed at his feet, could have done a bit better. I thought Rodri was okay. Ruben Diaz in the first half and Rodri, they were seeming to arguing at some points, those two, in disagreement. Rodri was trying to control the ball off Ruben Diaz. Ruben Diaz boots the ball against Rodri's thigh, creates a half opportunity for Brentford. I don't think there was any standout performances in either end of negativity and positivity today, other than Phil Foden, who scored 3 goals that were very much killer instinct and very like poacher's goals almost, like getting on the end of a move and smelling danger for the opposition and making the most of that danger and hurting them when it mattered. And Phil Foden, that's fantastic. I think that, correct me if I'm wrong, is that 10 goals for Phil Foden already? 10 goals, and I think he's got 8 assists, 18 goal involvements in roughly just under about 20 odd appearances, low 20s. That's brilliant. I'm really, really pleased with Phil Foden, who has scored a hat-trick while Kevin De Bruyne is on the pitch, which is going to do him the world of good, because I know we talk about Foden was doing such good things in a Manchester City shirt at the start of the season in De Bruyne's absence. And the question marks were always going to be, what's Foden's role going to be when De Bruyne comes back? And he kind of like tucked him inside. We almost had 3 attacking midfielders today, with Foden sort of tucking inside and allowing Gvardiol down the left to bomb it up and down the left wing. And Foden sort of like drifted inside with De Bruyne, who was a little bit deeper, but sort of still in that number 10 role, as well as Alvarez, who was that number 10 role. And we just had this trio, this dangerous trio that was always just something to keep an eye on for Brentford. And it seems like Foden was the man they kept the eye on the least, because he eventually found himself through on goal 3 times and bagged himself 3 goals. So is that the stats? 22 games, 8 goals, 7 assists. Is that the Premier League? He's only got 8 goals in the Premier League. I'm sure he's got more than that. I don't know. I'm sure you're right. I'm sure you've just Googled it, mate. So overall this season, 14 goals, 9 assists for Phil Foden. That's brilliant, really. That's brilliant. Yeah, cheers, Section 20. Please do drop a like on the stream. Nearly 150 of you in the building so far. 38 likes. If you could bump that up, that'd be fantastic. Really does help the channel. But yeah, Arsenal and Liverpool, they will have been watching that thinking, hopefully, that City... I don't think there's any surprise out of this result today. I think Arsenal and Liverpool fans would have probably held their hands up and said, yeah, City are going to go and win. It's not really a big surprise, but I think City fans, the pessimistic part of us, will have looked at that and gone, oh, bloody Brentford. It's not an easy place to go. So I do think, even though we're never going to get it, we're never going to get that pat on the back from our rival fans, are we? But I think we deserve one for ourselves, between us, amongst ourselves. Just, we know that was a good result, because that wasn't easy. And we've got, who is it, Everton at the weekend, lunchtime kickoff. So come and join me for that. I'll be doing a watch along for that. I'm really looking forward to that game. Lunchtime kickoffs as well. I feel like there's they can die a little bit, can't they? Lunchtime kickoffs. They don't always have the excitement factor, and that bodes well for City. We don't need excitement now. We don't need that level, going away. We don't want these Monday night games under the lights. Fans have had a few beers, and it's like, atmospheric. We don't want those games. Lunchtime games in the UK are the sort of games we want right now. At home at the Etihad, where it's nice and relaxed, it's lunchtime, and people are still waking up a little bit, you know what I mean? And it's like, go and play your football. Because there is a track record of 12:30 kickoffs. The number of goals I don't know the exact number, but I know there is a history of 12:30 kickoffs producing quite low-scoring games, not the most exciting games either. And that suits City, really does suit us, because we're the better team going into that Everton game. We're at home, we're going to dominate, most likely the football, keep possession, and hopefully with that possession comes chances. And Everton might not be switched on, maybe feeling sorry for themselves, being in 18th right now, currently 1 point above the relegation zone, and a game less than Luton as well. So if Luton go and win their game in hand, they are 4 points ahead of Everton, and that's gives them something to fight for, obviously, going into the game. And Everton have never been it's never been an easy fixture for Manchester City, but still, I feel like that we can win that game, and then we go first that weekend, go top. That's the killer. We go top, beat Everton, and top we go. I'm pretty sure that's right. There's no Friday night game, is there? Just before I make an arse of myself. But yeah, no, I'm pretty convinced that there's, let's have a look, next week fixtures. Yeah, we go first. Liverpool play 2.5 hours later, so they'll probably go back top with them playing Burnley, who do not look good right now. Burnley do. I feel for them. Vincent Kompany, fear the worst, mate. Arsenal play on Sunday away to West Ham. That's not easy. That is not easy. Either way, though, we get a chance to go top. And that's going to be massive. And that would not have been the case had we not won this game tonight, and we did. And it was... it's hard to say convincing because we go 1-0 down, but I think, you're close. It was real. It was a statement win. The result was better than the performance, but the performance wasn't that far behind. Do you know what I mean? Does that make sense? I felt like we massively deserved to win the game. We were the only team trying to score goals. There was that little 10-minute flurry after we go 3-1 up that I thought Brentford... No, 2-1 up, in fact. There was a little 10-minute flurry where Brentford were creating the odd little half chance, and we recognised that, weathered the storm, mopped up any sort of pressure that Brentford were trying to throw at us, and then went and got a third. That was classic, quality game management. Really good football, high IQ football from all of the Manchester City team. Really, really good. Really, really pleased. So that's it. I'm going to call it for the match reaction. It's been a great evening. It really has. I really enjoyed the watch long. So many of you came along for that watch long. It was such a good turnout. Good to see so many of you in there. If you're watching this after the fact and haven't watched it live, either way, please do drop a like on the stream. It really does help. And those that haven't already, and if you can, on your way out of this stream, please do drop a like and subscribe if you're new. And all that stuff that's boring to your ears. I hate saying it. You hate hearing it. But I've got to ask it because apparently YouTube says so. I hate it. It's the worst thing in the world. I'm such a terrible salesman. I just want to talk about City. That's all I want to talk about. Anyway, that's the end of the match reaction. Brilliant to see so many of you in this, as well as the watch along as well. 3 points on the board. Massive, massive win as well. Exciting. Player ratings tomorrow. Come and join me for that. Looking forward to that. I wonder what Phil Foden's going to get. I'm telling you right now, I told you in the watch along, if you were watching, he ain't getting a 10. Someone's going to have to do something incredibly special to get a 10 out of 10. And a hat-trick is special, but it ain't 10 out of 10 special in my book. Not yet. I'm wondering who's going to get it. I'm not sure who I'm going to give it to. If any, 9.99999 section's gone for. But yeah, I only do 0.5s. But I don't know how people work it out without an algorithm. I see people give like 9.7s. I'm like, how do you work that out? Like 0.5s I kind of get because it's like that halfway house. But I don't get how people work out without a computer algorithm to work out a score like SofaScore does, where it's to the decimal point. I understand that because that's an algorithm that's worked it out. using all the statistics. How a human comes up with 0.1 of a score, I've no idea. How do you? What's the 9.6, 9.8, 9. I don't know how you work it out. It's brilliant though. It's entertaining. 9.5 is probably what Phil Foden's going to get in truth, just to spoil it for you. And as well as man of the match, so that's a spoiler. But it is interesting to see what everyone else gets. Josko Gvardiol. I really want to see his stats. I thought Kyle Walker had a good game. But anyway, I'm going to spoil it for you. Let's talk about that tomorrow. Player ratings in the morning or lunchtime-ish UK. So come and join me for that. And thank you for joining me again. I've repeated myself, but really do appreciate everyone joining. And massive 3 points. Brilliant. Fantastic night to be a Manchester City fan. Take care, Blues, and I'll see you in the next one.